all these airplanes in my collection, and one of them just so happens to stand out. And no, it is not this Hobby Zone Sport Cub. One of all of them seems to stand out. So let's get a good look at it. Bring it off the shelf as it takes up a lot of space on my shelf. Now it's on my work table. So let's unbox it, see what there is. So it looks like what it comes with right now is the control line handle, some stuff in there will open shortly. Come out of the ignition battery, the glow fuel, and of course, the last of all, the airplane. So let's get this out and let's dive into it. Now that it's out of the box, let's get a close look at it. This is an original Avion Cox 1959 Shinn, or Shinn 2150, which is more popularly known as the Varga Kachina. Now, I picked up this model for about $300 because it was perfect for me. I've seen a Varga in real life. I thought it'd be really awesome. So, I know what you're all focusing on right now. You're not focusing on any of the yapping. You're focusing on the 0.49 nitro engine. We'll get into that in a moment. But first, let's get those wings on. As it didn't come with any rubber bands, let's use two of these yellow ones from my collection. Now that's the ticket. We got the rubber bands on, holding the wing. Now let's take assessment of everything we have. Our nice airplane, a glow plug starting battery, our glow fuel, the handle for the control line, and let's see what's in the bag. Let's transition over to opening the bag. Boom. So we can see we got this little thingy. I don't know if you can see it, but it says Thimble Drone. It says Thimble Drone in black. We got our string to make the control line, and we got the piece that attaches to the glow plug. So now let's talk a little bit about these while we show it off. So Cox used to make these neat little airplanes back in the day that were combustion engine powered. Some of them had a spring starter. But they were little 0.49 baby bees or black widows or different kinds of 0.49. They also made 0.51, 0.10, and 0.20. But those aren't as popular as the almighty 0.9. Not 0.9, 0.49. So let's assess some basic looks about the airplane. This airplane is registered November 710 Victor, but if you look up this registration, you will not find anything for it, so I assume this is a fictional design. Has nice Shinn 2150 stickers on both sides. Clear canopy with partially molded cabin. You could see the seat and you could see the center stick. And I assume these two little parts that poke up are for getting fuel into the engine. So now let's talk a bit about the engine. This airplane runs a 0.49 engine with a, I think, 5 square centimeter fuel tank, possibly 8. And it has this to adjust the carburetor, but it also adjusts throttle. So you turn this to adjust that. It also comes with a spring starter. I don't know if this is the way you use it, but this is how I intend to use it. You get the spring, put it over the propeller like that. So when you start it, you're not supposed to start it clockwise. See? If you turn it clockwise, it goes back. But if you turn it counterclockwise, which is the way you start it up, it comes off. So I don't know if that's how you set it up, but that's just probably how I'm going to do it either way. So now we got our little engine. So how you would start these up is you would use a needle or something precise, or if you're really good, you'd use the fuel tank. To get some fuel, to get some fuel into that little hole in the engine to prime it. So you get your fuel like in there. You have to be really precise. Just to prime it, you put a drop in, and then you get your glow plug igniter, and you hold still. You snap it in like that. You get your battery over here, which is a 1.5 volt battery. On each terminal of the battery, you wrap the exposed end of these wires around the terminals. And now with it primed, if you can use a screwdriver to start it up, or if you're good enough, you can use your hands. So now let's look a bit at the battery and the fuel tank. The fuel tank has a decent amount of space in there. Looks like it has plenty of space. I'm not sure if that's the fuel tank. I just think it is. Or it could be this, because there's the hole attached to it, which attaches to those valves on the top. Now, let's talk a bit about the battery. This is a Cox Thimble Drone Glow Plug battery. It's just a basic condition battery from Santa Ana, California. It is 1.5 volts. This is positive and this is negative. So these were so when the fuel is in there, you put this on there to heat up the glow plug, so that when you spin the propeller, it ignites the fuel, and now your engine's running. So let's look at the fuel. This carton is from 1959 also, so it's pretty original, introduction size. Cox Thimble Drone Glow Fuel. This carton is empty, actually, because it came to us empty because it has a seam leak. I mean, 65-year-old fuel isn't going to last very long. You look at it, there's a little leak everywhere. So if you were good enough to squeeze fuel into the primer, you would have to open up your fuel lid, and you see there's a little hole that you squeeze the fuel out of. But I took this off to look at the inside to see if there's fuel in there. To your surprise, like I just said, there's nothing in there. So let me get this off real quick. May be hard to see, but there's nothing in the fuel tank. So let's snap this back on. Now, let's get the weight of everything. The airplane comes in at 5.8 ounces. The battery comes in at 8.6 ounces. The control line handle comes in at 0.2 ounces. The string comes in at 0.1 ounces. The little keychain thingy comes in at 0.1 ounces. The glow plug wires comes in at 0.3 ounces, but it's teetering back and forth. And our empty fuel tank weighs in at 1.8 ounces. So now that we look at it, let's look at how you would control these. So if we want to see how they're controlled, we got to flip it over. Take off the rubber bands that are holding our wings in place. Therefore, we can get to the secrets under the wing. Just kidding, there's literally no secrets worth seeing under the wings. So, let's flip it over. So now that we are looking under it, we can see the engine. But we also can see what's controlling our airplane, the U-control. So if we look at the U-control, before we talk about that, we have to talk about the elevator back here. So you can see our elevator. If we look, the elevator connects to a wire. The wire runs all the way back to the U-control. And the U-control controls its pitch. So basically, these little holes in the handle, you put the string through them and hook it up to the U-control. So that when you're flying it, this can turn and move your airplane's control surfaces. Let's look at what each movement does. Having it like this makes our airplane climb. Having it like this, on the other hand, makes our airplane descend. Having it like this, though, balances out the elevator perfectly for level flight. It only has elevator control, no aileron, no yaw, none of that. Just infinite spinning in a circle for all of eternity, basically. So now I just thought this would be pretty nice because it's a Shinn Varga model, and I have seen one of these in person, and I believe I filmed it. It's a beautiful airplane. But also, a little feature, this little knob right here, it's for carburetor, but it also controls the RPM, aka the throttle. So you would adjust that to the max RPM for maximum performance. So let's look at how you would get this started if I had any actual fuel. First step, you obviously got to have your wing on, of course. Now you want to get your fuel. You likely want to get a needle and get some fuel into the needle. What you're going to do with that fuel in the needle, or whatever you're using, is get it into that little hole in the engine so it falls down. So that's to prime it up. But before you do any of that, you're going to want to just give the propeller a few spin throughs so you know it's nice and loose and it'll be able to move. You might want to put on the spring starter the way I did, but it depends. You obviously don't have to. So after you put the priming fuel in, you'll put on your spring starter in the same way I did. You don't have to. Like I said, this is just how I think you should do it. And now, with some primed fuel in the engine, you will snap the glow plug igniter into the engine. So now that it's snapped in like that, it's good to go. So what you're going to want to do next is separate these wires, and they're really messy, so just let me do that. There. So now I have to hold them because if yours are like mine, there's not enough exposed wire to wrap that around those, so you might need to use a wire stripper. So now that your battery in this situation would be connected to the airplane, fuel and everything is in there. So you're going to want to tune your throttle before or after you start. Usually you should do it before. And if you do the spring starter the same way I do, either or not, turn it clockwise. Well, not clockwise, counterclockwise. I use this method of spring starter because you can't turn it counterclockwise. See? Well, you can't turn it clockwise. See? If you try to turn it clockwise, it goes back. But if you turn it counterclockwise, it spins. So it'll start up. And after it's started, you're going to want to remove your glow plug. And then you're going to just have like 2 minutes of fun, because these don't have a very long fuel tank. Anyways, let's look at the last part of the airplane before we end the video, because I forgot to open it up. So let's look more into the box. Lift up the box. Other than the fuel stain, we have a nice magazine here with all the information we'll need about our airplane if you don't know anything, or if my video didn't teach you enough. So, if we take out the item, it tells you how to start it up and everything. It turns out I was right. See? That's how you put the starter spring on there. I was right. And this side tells you how to set up the wire. So you got to cut it, connect it, blah. Tells you how to start it up. And if we put this back in the bag, you look at the bag. It came with this little inspect tag. And came with a notice. So now that the video's over, let's pack everything up. Now that the airplane and everything else is back in the box, it's time to put her away. Let's put her right back on the shelf. Boom. It's back on the shelf. Now, as always, like and subscribe for more great videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.